Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Montreal is in the southwest of the Quebec province in Canada. It is located on the border of the St. Lawrence River. 166.60 square miles makes up the city and 140.98 square miles makes up the land. The elevation is about 233 meters. There are mountains such as the Laurentine Mountains. There are plains. There's rivers such as the Lawrence River. There's a city in Montreal, a city town. The life expectancy in Montreal is 79.5 years for men and 83.9 years for women. The retirement age, people usually retire at age 65. The population is about 1.65 million, and the population density is 898 people per square kilometer. As you can see from this chart tells you the total populations of all Montreal residents by census family status. The most is children in census family, and the least is lone parents. The unemployment rate in Montreal is 8.9%, which is higher than it's ever been. Montreal is one of the cities known to have the highest unemployment rates in Canada. Montreal's official language is French, which is spoken by 56.9% of the people in Montreal. English is the second language, which covers 18.6% of the people. The other 19% of the people in Montreal speak other languages. The currency used in Montreal are called Canadian dollars. $1 Canadian is 76 cents compared to U.S. money. There are lots of different ethnicities of people that live in Montreal, such as white, South Asian, Chinese, African American, Filipino, Latin American, Arabs, Southeast Asian, West Asian, Korean, and Japanese. Though the most are white, African American, and Arab. Some natural parks in Montreal is Parc Nature de la Visitation and Parc Nature des Bois du Cercle. There are many religions practiced in Montreal by different people, such as Roman Catholicism, which is the most, other Christian denominations, non-religious people, Islam, Hinduism, and so on. The maximum salary received monthly in Montreal usually comes to about $29,167 Canadian dollars. A monthly salary income comes to near 1,000 Canadian dollars. The rules are set firmly in Montreal, so there's not many crimes have been happening lately. In the past year, there's only been 23 homicides, thanks to the strict laws Montreal has. You can see from the graph that the amount of Montreal has been decreasing. The national animal of Canada is the beaver, put into place in 1975 by the Act of Parliament. The beaver has been a symbol of early European settlers and traders that opened Canada's northern and western regions. The national anthem of Canada is called O Canada. Here's a chart that gives us a lot of information about the atmosphere and hydrosphere of Canada. Just to say that the average rainfall yearly comes to about 32.87 millimeters. And the average high temperature yearly comes to about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, this gives us the average of every single month in degrees Fahrenheit and degrees Celsius. Our hottest month, Montreal's hottest months are in July and August, and their coldest month is in January for Fahrenheit. The air quality in Montreal is rated to be about 23 AQI, which is a good rating. because this means that people in Montreal have been doing a good job keeping their air clean. But studies have shown that there are a few ways that pollutions have gotten into the air in Montreal, and if they keep happening, the air can be polluted even more than it already is. One of the ways is that it's been polluting is because of the anthropogenic sources of criteria air pollutants, which includes lead, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, and particulate materials. The second way is from toxins being released into the air. If this keeps happening, people will become sick, and the air won't be as clean. This graph gives you the average of hours of sun and daylight we get in Montreal. The most sunlight we get usually occurs in July, and the least sunlight we get usually occurs in January. The average wind speed. This is the average wind speed. The most wind we get is usually in February and March, and the least wind that we receive is in June, July, August, and September. This graph shows us the precipitation that we receive. The most precipitation we receive is in November, and the least precipitation we receive is in July. As you can see, Montreal receives a lot of precipitation throughout the year. This is a chart that describes the relative humidity that we get throughout the year. The most humid month throughout the year is usually July or August or September. The least humidity we get throughout the year is April. This map shows us how often flooding occurs in Canada. Montreal is located in the red, so this means that Montreal receives a lot of flooding for natural disasters due to all the rivers that it borders with. This map shows us the average of earthquakes that happens throughout Canada. Montreal is mostly in the green, but a little bit of it's in the red. Montreal has been through some rough earthquakes in the past 30 years, but there has been not many earthquakes lately. The water used in Montreal comes from the St. Lawrence River before it becomes filtered. Montreal uses this water for drinking, cooking, bathing, washing your clothes, watering the grass, etc. As I've stated, Montreal is a great place and has a great environment for us to live in. I believe Montreal will improve in the next 40 to 50 years.